Coming up on Network Africa. Sudan cuts ties with the United Arab Emirates over alleged support for rapid support forces. This comes as a new wave of Sudanese refugees flee into neighboring Chad after bombing of a camp for internally displaced people in Darfur. Plus, militant leader from the Central African Republic, Armel Sayo, returns to Bangui under police escort after being detained. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers. We begin in Sudan, where the government has cut diplomatic ties with the United Arab Emirates after repeatedly accusing the Gulf nation of backing the rival rapid support forces in the country's civil war. Defense Minister Yassin Ibrahim made the announcement following 3 consecutive days of aerial attacks on Port Sudan. The RSF is being blamed for attacks on the usually safe city, which started on Sunday. On Tuesday, Mr. Ibrahim accused the UAE of violating his country's sovereignty through its proxy, the RSF. However, the UAE has repeatedly denied allegations that it's given financial, military and political support to the paramilitary force. As a result of the defense minister's announcement, the Sudanese ambassador will be withdrawn from the UAE and Sudan will shut its diplomatic missions there. And 2 years of conflict in Sudan has killed thousands of people and continues to force millions from their homes, creating the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, says more than 18,500 people, mostly exhausted and traumatized women and children, have arrived in Chad in the past 2 weeks alone. Rapidly increasing number of Sudanese refugees crossing into eastern Chad report experiencing grave violence and human rights violations that forced them to flee. The UNHCR head of sub-office in Chad, Jean-Paul Habamungu, says Chad is living in difficult periods with the influxes.
We are living difficult periods with the influxes after the bombing of Zamzam IDP camp in Darfur and El Fasher. We have hundreds of thousands people moving who have been living in Zamzam. We didn't expect this big influxes of people. It's terrible here at the border. Many children, unaccompanied children, like the one of 14 years we just met. This boy of 9 years who is crying here looking for their parents. Many persons with specific needs, with elder, the doctor just told me that there are many pregnant women, lactating women who are malnourished. So we expect more malnourished people coming now, talking about people who are dying on their way from Zamzam to between Tawila and Etine, dying with hunger.
And for the past 3 days, the port city of Sudan has been under bombardment from the paramilitary rapid support forces. Residents speak of living in fear and darkness after drone strikes hit a major power station, causing a complete outage. Nasruddin Mohammed, a Sudanese citizen, says he's currently fleeing Port Sudan. He describes the impacts of the RSF's attack on the city.
The current situation today in Port Sudan is too bad because after explosions, something changes immediately. There is no electricity and also there is no transportations because the lack of fuel and the states. Port Sudan nowadays is facing the most difficult time ever faced before. And we have a go to report from the military on Sunday at the time that thing happened. From the Lieutenant General Mahjoub Bashar, commander of the Red Sea military region, delivered a detailed security briefing on Monday at the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Port Sudan to diplomatic missions, consulates, and representatives of international and regional organizations accredited in Sudan. General Bashar reported that the city was attacked early morning on Sunday at approximately 3:30 a.m. A total of 11 kamikaze drones targeted key locations, including the radar station and Flamingo, the Osman Digna Air Base, and several critical civil infrastructures sites. He also confirmed that Sudan Air Defense Force successfully neutralized all 11 kamikaze drones. Several were downed over the sea due to defensive actions, and 7 of them have since been recovered and are now in military custody. We as citizens facing difficulty, and many of us try to travel to the neighboring country, and also others try to travel in neighboring states where they can get themselves safe, because many people, they are in doubt.
Now, elsewhere on the continent, former Central African Republic Minister and militant leader Amel Sayo, who was accused of being behind a coup attempt in the country, has returned to the country under police escort following his detention by Cameroonian intelligence agencies. Mr. Sayo was detained on January 17, 2025, with the assistance of Russian military trainers and CAR intelligence services at Douala International Airport in Cameroon, where he was about to board a flight to France. He is wanted by CAR authorities for alleged war crimes and the attempted coup d'etat. In November 2020, the former Minister for Administrative Reforms attempted to run for president, but was rejected by the Constitutional Court for embezzlement, amounting to 18 million CFA francs. In February 2021, he was removed from all government positions and declared wanted. Now, the latest statistics from the International Organization for Migration show that Africa received diaspora remittances to the tune of $52.9 billion, with Nigerians in the diaspora remitting over 30% of the figure in 2024. The IOM Chief of Missions to Nigeria, Mrs. Sharon Demonch, gave the statistics at a meeting with the chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission in Abuja, Mrs. Abike Daviri Erewa. On her part, Mrs. Erewa is asking Nigerians living abroad to embrace the recently signed Nigeria First policy for investment and national development. Other issues discussed include the IOM's plans to return about 3,900 Nigerians from the Niger Republic and another 3,000 from Libya.
It has been barely 3 weeks since her assumption to Nigeria as the Chief of Missions to the International Organization for Migration, and one of her first port of call is the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
Aims to enhance your
discussions by both the team from the IOM and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission focus on harnessing the benefits of migration for national development, as both parties pledge their commitment to the cause as well as areas of support needed.
We can work with you in terms of raising awareness about the dangers of irregular migration. We just received 231 that came from Ghana. All of them, well, most of them, don't let me say all, If they knew what they were going into, they will not go on those journeys. So the awareness has to come from here.
Africa, but the entire global south, we continue to see a youth bulge, which is not an exception for Nigeria. I think in Nigeria we have many youth. And as we see the youth increasing, we have labor shortage. We have seen our youth actually moving up and about. And for Nigeria, it's very exceptional.
And the chairman of NICOM makes an appeal to Nigerians in diaspora on the need to support the Nigeria First policy announced by President Bola Tinubu a few hours ago.
We have Nigerians in the diaspora that have expertise in every area of human endeavor. This is the time for them to migrate home and take advantage, because we're talking migration, and take advantage of the renewed hope Nigeria First policy.
After the event, the IOM Chief of Missions to Nigeria shares statistics on both remittances to Africa and the number of those awaiting return from Niger and Libya.
As I speak now, we have 3,900 Nigerians that are ready to come back home from Niger. Then we have 3,000 Nigerians who are coming in from Libya, and those are just but a small number of the migrants that we have that need our support.
The word from both parties is that while safe and regular migration is leading the change globally, irregular migration, on the other hand, continues to undermine development. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
Staying in Nigeria, some media executives continue with their brainstorming session on innovation and media sustainability in a 3-day workshop for chief executive officers of media organizations. The workshop, which has now ended in Abuja, was put together by the Channels Media Group's training arm, the Channels Academy, a partnership with the United States government and GSM Foundation. Trained media executives on alternative revenue sources for media organizations.
The last 3 days of the workshop for media executives in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, has been an intense and eye-opening one. The workshop focuses on innovation and sustainability as participants share ideas on alternative revenue generation for the media, beyond conventional sources such as advertisements and sales.
We also started what I call co-created content, and I think we talked a bit about that here. So instead of depending 100% on advertising and circulation revenue, we create content with states. So you co-create content with them, and they pay you upfront for a year. Now that takes off a lot of pressure from you.
There are some industrialists in our place where we decided to do what we call a bespoke advertising. We approach, so let's say for instance, we approach MTN and we tell them we are giving you a morning belt from 6 until 12. We are not going to advertise any competition, or we are not going to advertise anybody at all. And it has worked fantastically well. We have had 2 industrialists in my state who are funding the morning belt and the evening belt.
Participants also explore existing possibilities to cut down on operational costs and leveraging technology and the social media to grow revenue bases.
I run about 17 stations across Nigeria, and all run 24 hours. How can all run 24 hours if I am relying on agencies' advert or on local revenue? So what we did was we built our digital assets, and then we make money from our digital assets, and these monies are used to run the stations.
The workshop gradually winds down with certificates presented to participants.
Yes. Yours is coming.
Followed by this appeal from the organizers.
It's important that as we wrap up this, we begin to think about what we can do to improve the living standard of our reporters. Because really, if they have nothing to fall back on, if there's nothing in their pockets, you are setting them up for mediocrity.
as you return to your organizations, I'm encouraging each of you to carry forward with the creativity and the boldness that you've shown today. Experiment with the strategies that Stacia and others have shared with you today. I just want to emphasize that, again, the U.S. mission here in Nigeria remains a partner for you.
Some of the participants share their reflections with us.
I came here in search of new ideas, and to plug into what's going on in the business. I've been out of the business for quite a bit, and this has been a very good renewal for me, and gives you a lot of ideas, what to do, alternative funding and all that, and which is what a lot of us need in the industry now.
I think the kind of assemblage of people who came together are very wide experiences, and that's helped us, to review the whole landscape.
It's been very impactful because we've looked at collaboration. We've looked at what we have done in the past years in terms of running the station, running the newsroom, and we have discovered that it's important that we collaborate to improve on our revenue generation, to improve on the management of our personnel, which is the main thing, really.
As this impactful workshop for media CEOs in Abuja comes to a close, attention is now shifted to Lagos, where the training for other sets of media executives will continue.
And still to come on the program. And the question, how would you like your haircut? A viral barber using machetes, shovels, and other unexpected claims for edgy haircuts in Kenya. Details in a bit. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Over 130 cardinals from across the world are gathered at the Vatican to begin the process of electing a new pope. That's marking the beginning of the conclave meeting. This evening, they will walk to the Sistine Chapel to cast their votes beneath the famous Renaissance frescoes. The cardinals are set to have no communication with the outside world until a new pope is elected. After the first vote later today, smoke will emerge from the Sistine Chapel chimney. Black smoke means more voting will take place tomorrow, while white means there's a new pope. In the meantime, Christians in Accra, Ghana, are hopeful for an African pope who they say is the best fit. Dr. Joyce Rosalind Ariyi, Reverend Minister and founder of Ghanaian Salt and Light Ministry, says by 2050, Africa will have the largest concentrations of Christians in the world. And in that respect, it will be wonderful to have someone from Africa who represents the bulk of Christians. Several African cardinals are being mentioned as potential candidates, including Peter Turkson from Ghana, Robert Serra from Guinea, and Fridolin Abongo from Congo. Asamoah Gyaду, a Ghanaian professor at Trinity Theological Seminary and minister of the Methodist Church, says the potential election of the first black pope in centuries is a blessing.
I think the most important thing is to consider where the growth of the Catholic Church is. We're told that even when it comes to Christianity, Christianity is growing by leaps and bounds in Africa, and that by 2050, we probably would have the largest concentration of Christians in Africa. In that respect, it would be good to have someone from Africa who represents the bulk of Christians. But having said that, I think the more important thing is what is expected of a pope and who will best fit that expectation. Naturally, if he's from our continent, it would be wonderful we can go raising our shoulders, boasting that the Pope, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, is from Africa, which would not be bad. Africa has always played a significant role in Christianity. In fact, I would say in Judaism as well as in Christianity, which is really a Judeo-centric faith.
The mere fact that Africans are being mentioned in connection with the office, it's itself part of the blessing. It shows the strength of the faith on our continent, and we just pray, hope, and trust that it may be possible. If it is to come from Africa, we know that at least we have 3 people who qualify from the continent. Even without naming the other 2, we are all aware that our dear Cardinal Apia Texan has been mentioned in various places. Nobody can say who has the best chance.
And one cardinal that will be missing the vote at the Sistine Chapel is Kenyan Cardinal John Njue. The Catholic Church in the country has responded to concerns that the country's only cardinal will not be participating in the election of the next pope because he had not been asked to attend. The 79-year-old was quoted in a Kenyan newspaper saying that he had not been invited and he did not know why. However, Catholic officials in Kenya later said that he had been invited but was not able to go because of ill health. A statement said, owing to his current health condition, he will not be able to travel to Rome. Tuesday's statement by the Nairobi Archdiocese noted that it was reacting to concerns over Cardinal Njue's participation and various inquiries about whether he would be at the Cardinals' meeting known as a conclave. Let's quickly join Cyrus Mbati, a Kenyan journalist in Nairobi, to unwrap this for us. Hello, Cyrus. Great to have you again today.
Hello, how are you?
Right. So,
good to have you in show.
Yeah, so very quickly, do Kenyans feel like Africa has a chance in producing the next pope?
Well, if you go to the churches where they're praying now, it makes reaction to that. They're just waiting to see who wins to be the next pope. But they say they don't see any chance of having an African as the next pope.
And several African cardinals are being mentioned as possibly producing the next pope. What changes do you Catholic faithful in Kenya think an African pope could bring?
Well, as I said earlier on, they're saying that the chances of one being a pope from Africa are slim. But then if he comes as a pope from Africa, it will be a kind of a blessing to the continent because remember the continent has so many challenges which need to be addressed by the church itself and other players. So if a pope comes from Africa, we believe that some of these challenges we're facing as a continent will be solved by the church itself.
Right, and there will be a lot of nail-biting apprehension as we await the colour of smoke from the chimney at the Sistine Chapel. What will Catholics in your country be doing tonight as they await the results of the first round of voting?
I understand that men are meeting in churches now, as from around 9 p.m. today, to pray and wait for the white smoke if it comes. If it doesn't come, then they're saying they have to come back tomorrow again to say and continue and waiting and see whether it's going to happen. If there will be a white smoke or black smoke again tomorrow. So it's a matter of waiting to see what comes next and praying hard.
Cyrus, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me the show.
Well, staying in Kenya, where a court has sentenced 4 men to 1 year in prison for trying to smuggle thousands of live ants out of the country. The 4 suspects, 2 Belgians, a Vietnamese and a Kenyan, were arrested last month with 5,000 ants and at a guest house in the western town of Naivasha. They also have the alternative to pay a fine of $7,000. They have pleaded guilty to charges and told the court that they were collecting the highly sought-after ants as a hobby and didn't think it was illegal. But delivering the sentence on Wednesday, the court said the particular species of ants collected was valuable and they had thousands of them, not just a few. It's believed that the ants were intended for exotic pet markets in Europe and Asia. The contraband included giant African harvester ants, which are valued by some UK dealers at up to £170 each. Getting a haircut in Kiambu, Kenya could take an unexpected turn if your barber is Safari Martin. He's a Rwandan-born barber who has taken Kenya by storm, going viral for crafting intricate hairstyles using unconventional tools. Martin cuts his client's hair using a shovel, and a machete, as well as a hammer and a razor. The barber also uses fire for his finishing touches. He says his motivation is from the rich African culture, trying to bring out the picture of what could have been if there was an African village barber. According to local media, the 25-year-old barber charges between 5,000 to 8,000 Kenyan shillings. The hair artist has reportedly gathered over 2 million followers across his social media pages, where he showcases his unique tools and techniques.
I'm basically a barber, but I also do content creation. It's a mix of both, and also storytelling. And I just like bringing out ideas from my mind and from mostly the African culture. Trying to bring together a barber and an African culture character. Looking at rich African culture, of course, that's where the motivation came from. And I was already a barber, and I wanted to do something related, become a content creator in something that is related to what I am already doing. So that's where the inspiration of using the tools that we have already in the village, trying to bring out how, just trying to bring out a picture of what it could be if there was like an African village barber.
Afadhali utumie spade. Jenye hizi machines after kunyolewa zina nini ma rashes, ma dents, huku unapata ma dents. Ndio ukipakwa spirit si vizuri. Hizi shovel, they are the best.
I wonder how his clients sit still for those haircuts. But that's our program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joker Rogers.